Hi, I'm David Holt with National Comfort Institute. Welcome to High Performance Sales and Installations. This is a recorded session. However, I do want to interact with you. If you have questions as you're watching this recorded session, please feel free to text me at 706-332-2212, and I'll get back with you. When you do text me for the first time, please let me know who you are, what company you're with, and that you're texting about the High Performance Sales and Installation Workshop. That way I'll get back to you with an appropriate answer. So looking forward to this. Glad you joined us. Let's get started. So I'm going to cover 5 topics during this session. Here's an overview. First, we're going to talk about an industry-wide problem that we all have to deal with. Second, we're going to talk about typical HVAC system performance issues. Third, we're going to talk about motivating consumer behavior, a really important thing in the sales process, right? Number 4 is a new high-performance standard that's been set for our industry that you may not know anything about yet. And number 5, how to sell more high-efficiency jobs and ultimately install them in a high-efficiency manner. So this whole idea of high-performance sales and installations is all about trying to help you deliver the safest, healthiest, most comfortable, and energy efficient ultimate indoor comfort system possible. That's a mouthful. We better get started. So I want you to look at these pictures. This is our industry-wide problem. Consumers are being ripped off when you look at this stuff. I'd like to thank HVAChacks.com for sharing these images. Unbelievable, isn't it? We can do better than this as an industry. Holy cow. I don't even know what to think about that one or that one. And sure, I know some of these are really hacks, like consumers trying to do their own work. But you know, there's HVAC contractors, there's one, that probably put this stuff in, right? We don't use no metal here for this transition. Wow, nice mounting, huh? Ooh, yeah. I don't know what to say about that one either. Gas pipe across the front. Whoa. What's going on there? Unbelievable, don't you think? Whoa. Again, is this what you just saw? Is this the equipment manufacturer or is it the HVAC contractor that's at fault? There were a lot of different manufacturers represented in those images, but you know what? They didn't have anything to do with any of those installations. All they did was supply a component to the job. That's all they did. They supplied a component to the job. The person who took that component and misused it is the one that's at fault. And as a result, consumers are being ripped off. We must, as an industry, do better than this. And I know we can. Let's talk about how. Do you know that the end result of that type of installation is that the average ducted HVAC system in North America only delivers 57% of the equipment's rated capacity to the home? 57%. Imagine if your kid came home from school with a 57 on his report card. You'd probably be asking some questions. You'd probably take some corrective action, wouldn't you? Right? It's not acceptable. Well, this isn't acceptable for our industry either. A 57 average is a failing score. Where are we getting this from? We must do better than this as an industry. If we don't, God help us, right? Holy cow. But seriously, if you measure the performance of a system as installed, you're going to find 57% is pretty darn typical all across North America. We definitely must do better than this. So here's the kind of impacts that 57% performance has. So as it relates to safety, a properly designed HVAC system is going to say something like this: the heating and cooling system does not pose an immediate safety threat to your family through possible exposure to electrocution, explosion, fire, and or poisonous gas. Now, 57% performance takes out that not right there and says the heating and cooling system does pose an immediate safety threat to your family. Now, do you think any of those jobs we just looked at on the screen might pose an immediate safety threat to that family? Yeah, I promise you, if you go back and watch those images and stop the video on each image, you can find an awful lot of safety violations going on that could result in electrocution, explosion, poisonous gas. I mean, there's some doozies in those pictures. So 57% performance impacts safety. What about health? A properly designed ultimate indoor comfort system would be described as the heating and cooling system does not pose a long-term health threat to your family through exposure to unhealthy airborne pollutants like dust, mold, mildew, and or pollen. But again, that pesky 57% thing takes that not out of there, and all of a sudden the heating and cooling system does pose a long-term health threat. Do you think maybe there was some dust being blown into the houses that those people were living in? Do you think maybe there was some apparent biological growth that was being added to their indoor air? Yeah. Okay. What about comfort? Well, a properly designed heating and cooling system is capable of quietly maintaining a consistent temperature and humidity level throughout every room in the house. But again, that pesky 57% performance factor says the heating and cooling system is not capable of quietly maintaining a consistent temperature. You starting to get the picture here? 57% really does not help the consumer very much, does it? Well, here's the last one. What about efficiency? Again, a properly designed and installed heating and cooling system operates in an efficient manner, thereby lowering monthly energy bills and reducing any potentially negative environmental impact. But sadly, the heating and cooling system does not operate in an efficient manner when it's operating at 57%. How could it? How efficient could it be if I'm dumping, let's say, $100 worth of power into the unit, but I'm only getting 57% of the heating and cooling capacity out of that unit? It's still using 100% of that power, but I'm only getting 57% of the results. Not very efficient, right? It'd be like driving a brand new Tesla on 4 flat tires. Not very economical, is it? No, it's not acceptable to operate a system like this. We got to change things. We must, as an industry, do better than this. For who? Well, the most important piece of the puzzle for these folks. Your customers deserve your best, period. This beautiful family in this beautiful home could very easily be suffering from this 57% dilemma. And in fact, they probably are, unless this house has been renovated by someone who knows how to measure the performance of their systems as installed, take corrective action, actually fix the problems that they identify. So here's the question for you. You get to decide how you're going to respond to this new knowledge that you're gaining during this session. You can put your head in the sand and forget about what you're going to hear, or you could do something about it. You can actually begin the process to learn how to solve the problems that can be identified by simple testing processes that you may not be currently taking advantage of. So are you going to stand out as a professional in this industry, or are you going to blend in and be a part of the 57? It's your choice. We can't choose for you. That's up to you. Let's talk about that a little bit. So that'll be NCI and a whole lot of NCI trained professionals across North America, actually across the world, are on a mission. And our mission is very simple. We want to stamp out these low performance HVAC systems that consumers are having to deal with, right? Your customers and your wallet will appreciate this if you join on this mission. If you join in on this mission and you get committed to stamping out these 57 percenters in your neck of the woods, man, stand back and get ready, because you're going to have a whole lot of smiling customers giving you a whole lot of 5-star reviews, paying you a premium price for your premium product, and helping you grow your business through referrals, nonstop referrals. That's a good business plan right there. So how did we get here? Take a look at these pictures and think about this. The number one HVAC system consumer is home builders. So these are residential new construction pictures. So think about home builders. What motivates their purchase decision? There's the answer, right? Low bid. This is how we get here, right? Because we get low bid mentality. We get trained by residential new construction home builders that if we don't come in with the lowest price, we don't get to work. The number one consumer of HVAC systems, and I want you to note that we have systems highlighted there, there's a reason for that, is home builders. Now, a system is everything from grills and registers all the way back to the equipment. Okay, so complete HVAC systems, the number one consumer is home builders. Well, think about what motivates their purchase decision. Low bid, right? When they are motivated by low bid, guess what? They go for the lowest price supplier. Well, if you're the lowest price supplier for a product, chances are pretty good the only way you can be the lowest price is to do what? Well, cut as many corners as you possibly can, use the cheapest material, the cheapest equipment, and the cheapest labor to do it. Well, all that cheap adds up to what? A mess, like what we see right here. Now, some of you may look at that and say, what's wrong with that? That looks pretty good. Well, to the trained eye that knows what they're supposed to be looking at, this is a mess. And I will promise you that the customer, the homeowner that's living in this house right now has rooms that are hard to heat or cool. They have dust problems in their home. They have balancing issues in their home, because I know I took this picture. This house happens to be less than a half a mile from my house. So we got here because this low bid mentality is pervasive in our industry. And sadly, what winds up happening is residential new construction contractors hit a bump in the road. I don't know, 2008. Anybody remember that? And next thing you know, they're jumping into the add-on replacement market. So they've gone from a wholesale type of a sales model to now they're in the retail market. But guess what they're using? The same wholesale mentality that they had before. Doesn't work. You got to do things different. If you're going to be a high performance contractor, you got to do high performance methods. And low bid is not a high performance method for getting work. In fact, low bid equals low performance. And low bid actually stands for, I don't know if you knew this or not, left out the warranty to beat the idiot's deal. That's what low bid stands for. 57% is what we're looking at right here. This is a 57% performance system right here. Brand new. Nothing in the world wrong with the equipment, assuming it's sized properly. Nothing in the world wrong with the equipment, but even the sizing issue, is that the manufacturer's fault or is that the contractor? I think you know the answer to that. So if low bid motivates, why in the world would somebody spend all this money on all this jewelry? Why would they spend $75,000 or more for a car? Why would they spend all this money for this McMansion for only 2 people living there? Why in the world would you buy a big old F-350 when you could certainly get a cheaper truck? Why in the world would someone spend the amount of money that it required to build this kitchen? Do you think the pancakes taste any better in there? Or the fried chicken? Probably doesn't taste any better, right? Probably doesn't make the food any more delicious, but it does make it fun to eat there, right? As you look around and think, holy cow, I just spent $35,000 just on that one cabinet. Oh my gosh, right? So if low bid motivates, why in the world do we see all these fine things all around us? I don't care where you live. If you look around, you're going to see Teslas, BMWs, you're going to see really nice houses, you're going to see some not so nice houses, you're going to see some not so nice cars, right? But the reality is this: people will invest in those things that are most important to them. The things that matter to them, people will invest in. So what we have to do as professionals is we have to make high performance HVAC matter to our customers. If they will invest more in things that matter to them, we need to help them understand why high performance HVAC versus standard performance HVAC, why high performance HVAC systems matter to them. So that's our big goal here. How do we get our customers to buy into the reality that something that they really can't see because it's hiding behind sheetrock is an important investment in their lives? Well, I'm going to give you some tips. These people right here make their decisions based on these 4 elements. Now, I used to sell for my dad. My grandfather started in the heating and air business back in the 40s. He started his own business in his backyard in 1956. He was a one-truck operator. Been there, done that. My family's been in this stuff for a long time. When my dad retired from the Navy in 1977, he moved back home to Columbus, Georgia, to help his dad run Holt Service Company. In 1991, I sold a software company that I started in Atlanta called H2 Solutions, and I began operating Holt Service Company. My dad still owned it, but I was the president of the company. And I came in more from a business perspective and a sales perspective than a technical perspective, because I never serviced an HVAC system in my life, nor did I install one. But I learned how to design them, and I learned how to make sure they worked properly, and we learned how to sell them in a profitable way. Well, one of the things I discovered is that when I found out what was important to the customer, what matters to them as it relates to the safety of their house and their family and their belongings, the health of their family, the comfort of their home, their definitions, and the efficiency levels that they were willing to invest in, when I uncovered what mattered to them in each of these 4 categories, I sold bigger and better jobs. In fact, in 1998, the last full year we owned the business, Dad sold it the first of 99. In 1998, the last year we owned the business, our average replacement job in the residential market was $7,600. That was our average sale. 22 years ago, as of this recording, soon to be 23 years ago. That's pretty good, right? That's pretty darn good. $7,600 for some of you today is probably like, what? I don't even get that today. I get it, right? But the difference is we focused on these 4 legs of the high performance table: safety, health, comfort, and efficiency. Well, let's dig into this a little bit. If these are the motivators, we just have to communicate to them and tell them how our team is going to ensure that their family will be safe. Now, I'm not going to read you all these items. I'm going to leave it up on the screen so you can read them yourself. But this is just the flip side of that card at the top, right? So we look at the definition, and then we flip it over and we talk to the customer about how we're going to ensure that their high voltage system and then their fossil fuel system, assuming it's a gas or oil system, that their system is going to operate safely because of the measures that we took as a professional HVAC contractor. Then we did the same thing with health. We said, here's the things that are important to your health and things that our system can help you resolve. And I would update this a lot today because I would also be talking about more things associated with the potential of minimizing viral type situations, right? As in coronavirus, right? What can I do to make sure that if that monster gets in your house, that we can get it out of your house as quickly as possible, right? So indoor air quality is a major part of health, but it's not just that. It's the whole process of what does it take to make a home a more healthy living environment. Then we flip over the card and we look at comfort. And we say, you know what? It's not just about temperature. It's also about humidity, but it's also about noise. I mean, who likes to live with a really noisy system? Nobody. Makes you uncomfortable. But it's also important to help them understand that you're going to make it comfortable in their payments as well. You're going to make it comfortable for you to fit this into your budget. And then last, but certainly not least, is efficiency. If you just laid those 4 cards on the table in a random order with the definitions, you laid them out there on the table and you said, if you would please read these 4 cards and sort them out in terms of their priority to you and your family. About 99% of the time, the sequence that I have on the screen is the sequence that the customer would tell me was important to them. Now, that may surprise you. You may think efficiency is the number one thing people are looking for. Not more important than safety, right? Definitely not more important than health. Might be a flip on comfort, right? They might flip efficiency and comfort around a little bit, but it's always funny when they do that. They'd say, oh, I'll put efficiency number 3 and I'm going to put comfort number 4. I said, well, that's really good because I can make it 100% efficient, but I promise you, you are not going to be comfortable. And I just will turn it off. We won't even install one. It won't cost you a dime to operate, but you're not going to be comfortable. And they say, oh, no, that's not, yeah, okay, let's fix that. So you understand when you think about it, if you really read what each of those cards is saying, health is number 2 to safety, because safety is an immediate threat. Explosion, carbon monoxide poisoning, right? Poisonous gas, explosion, electrocution. These are problems that people do not want to have anywhere near their house. In fact, if you ask a customer exactly how many parts per million of poisonous, colorless, odorless gas would you like to have floating around in your air, they will tell you without a whole lot of hesitation, 0. And I'd have to agree with them. 0 poison in your air is a good idea, right? So understand that if you don't bring these up, if you don't discuss them, guess what? You're not standing out as different. You're fitting in with the 57 percenters. Not exactly where we want to be in our lives, right? So here's an interesting thing that's happened recently. In fact, this happened on July 31st, 2020. This new ANSI/ASHRAE standard was adopted and published. This is a big deal. Okay. It is a test method to field measure and score the cooling and heating performance of an installed unitary HVAC system. That is a big, long title, but it is very descriptive of what this standard is all about. A test method. It's a way for you as a professional to test and field measure and score the cooling and heating performance of an installed unitary HVAC system. Now, again, what's a system? A system is everything from grills and registers all the way back to the equipment. Equipment alone is not an HVAC system. Okay, that's something that we've messed up in our own minds in the industry. We think a condenser, an evaporator, and a furnace is an HVAC system. Guess what? It ain't. Those are components of an HVAC system. So this standard set out to do some things to help our industry raise the level of professionalism within the industry. Now, I got 3 guys circled. This is the committee over here on the right side of your screen. This is the committee that actually designed this standard. The 3 people that are circled are all employed by National Comfort Institute, NCI, the company I work with. Okay. Rob Falk is the chairman of this committee. Rob Falk is the co-founder and president of National Comfort Institute. Mel Johnson is our vice president for our utilities division. He works very closely with utility companies across North America to help them get the efficiency up on the systems that are connected to their utilities. Gas companies, electric companies, we work all over the country with a whole variety of utility companies to help bring this type of standard practice to their market. Ben Lipscomb is a professional engineer. He's a certified PE. He's on staff with us, works very closely with Mel and the rest of our technical team to make sure that what we teach at National Comfort Institute to contractors like you is 100% proper, repeatable, and absolutely rock solid. Well, guess what? We were asked to play a significant role. Obviously, we have 3 people on this committee to develop this important industry standard. And this is a standard that is worthy of adoption. It just got released in July. Over time, this standard will become a part of building codes. We're going to fix some 57 percenters big time, because when people start complying with these testing standards, they're going to be able to say, hey, you know what? This thing was built and designed and developed with 2020 version of the 221 standards. Okay. That's a big deal. I don't know if you realize how big a deal this is for our industry, but that's a big deal. It's a huge deal. Good news is it's your opportunity to stand out from the crowd, because you're one of a handful right now of contractors that actually even know this standard exists. Beat the rest of the crowd and start figuring out how to apply this in your business. And guess what? Contractors that have been applying this in their business, even before the standard existed, have gained a tremendous foothold in their markets as the company that can solve problems that no one else can. Let me show you how. This is the forward. This is like right inside the inside cover of the standard. There's a forward, it's a full page of text that says this first part is defining a standard of excellence that we as an industry should embrace. It's a method to field measure and estimate the capacity and efficiency and score the performance of an installed heating, ventilating, and air conditioning system. An installed system's performance deteriorates because of less than perfect design and installation practices and poor maintenance. System airflow may be below the volume specified. All right, think about that one right there. So if I've got a 2.5 ton system, I'm supposed to be operating about 400 CFM per ton. Depending on your market, it's going to adjust, of course. But let's just say 400 times 2.5, that's about 1,000 CFM that needs to be blown across the evaporator coil to make the air conditioner work, right? Well, what happens if you only have 570 CFM? Would that be adequate airflow to charge that system? Nope. Do you know how much air is blown across the evaporator coils for all those units that you've put in? System static pressures may be above the maximum allowable. Do you know that every blower installed by every manufacturer in our industry has a nameplate on there that says maximum external static pressure or something like that on the nameplate? And it says for most of them, 0.50, a half-inch water column. That's the measurement we use. You know that that's a standard for the equipment that we install, even if it's got a variable speed motor. So it may be running a little bit high. We might have a duct system that's undersized, poorly designed, poorly installed, damaged. We didn't see any pictures like that a minute ago, did we? We didn't see a good duct system in any of those pictures, I can tell you that. Refrigeration circuits may be incorrectly charged. Let's point you back to the first part. Do we have the proper fan airflow? And combustion deficiencies may prohibit the delivery of equipment rated capacity. Man, that's a mouthful right there in about 3 or 4 sentences. The bottom line is the performance of the equipment deteriorates because of less than perfect design of the system and the installation practices that are being followed by who? That's us, HVAC contractors. And again, who's the biggest consumer? Home builders, forcing people to do this stuff at a lower price than they should be earning to do it right. And of course, the home builders, they'll blame it on the home buyers. Well, if I charge $5,000 more, I won't be able to sell this house. Yeah, you will. Here's another one. Laboratory rated equipment capacity and efficiency are not intended to represent actual system performance. Okay, what that says is the yellow tag on the equipment that says 17 SEER is kind of like the tag on the side of a car that says, if you coast downhill with your foot off the gas, we're going to get you 35 miles per gallon. But if you drive like my wife, you're going to get about 17 because she only knows 2 speeds, on and off. So that yellow tag is what? It's measuring lab level stuff. So this is necessary. This field test method is necessary because laboratory rated equipment capacity and efficiency are not intended. They never have been intended to represent actual system performance once the equipment is installed in a building. It's never been intended to say, this is how it's going to operate in the building. This is how it operates in a lab. Equipment capacity and efficiency ratings are tightly regulated and accurately represent equipment performance under a specific set of test conditions. So we're not saying, and certainly ASHRAE is not saying by this standard, that the current SEER, AFUE, HSPF rating system is flawed. Far from it. We completely endorse those rating systems. But I promise you one thing that's for sure. The manufacturer does not endorse some of our installation methods either. Because if you read the installation manuals, if you read what it says about setting the fan speed, if you read what it says about what airflow is produced at certain static pressures, you would find that they are telling you the right stuff in their manual. We're just not paying attention to it. As contractors, we got to fix that. We can do better. We need to stand out from the crowd and not deliver these 57%ers. This standard does not validate or invalidate a manufacturer's equipment energy rating or the laboratory testing performed on equipment at the time of manufacture. Its purpose is to score the performance of a system. Again, what's a system? Everything from grills and registers back to the equipment. Typically field fabricated by who? Us, HVAC manufacturers. Okay, think about that. We're the HVAC system manufacturers. We are not contractors. We manufacture HVAC systems by bringing together grills, registers, duct systems, UV lights, filters, condensers, evaporators, furnaces, controls, humidifiers, dehumidifiers, you name it. All these components are just that. They're components. And what this standard does is it helps us measure the performance of the system from grills and registers all the way back through to the equipment by fabricated, designed, installed by us, by the installing contractor. That represents an end product different from its comprising parts. Okay, think about that. Our end product, the complete HVAC system, is different than the individual parts. So the testing and rating standards that we've been operating on under with this industry for years, they don't actually apply to as installed. Think about that. As installed is a whole lot different than as designed. Because I promise you, not a single one of those manufacturers that were represented in those pictures that I showed you at the beginning of this presentation would concur that their equipment was installed properly by any of those contractors. There wasn't a single one that was installed properly. Not one. And that's just a small number of the pictures that we have and that you've seen yourself. This particular approach, this standard, helps you stand out from the crowd in a big way, because this is all about a standard for installed performance, not designed performance. This test method estimates the system capacity being delivered through the supply registers. Oh, so it's the product that we're measuring is what's coming out of the supplies to do what? Keep the structure comfortable and the folks that live in it. Oh, so this method estimates the system capacity being delivered through the supply registers for both heating and cooling systems. Last statement, this provides a consistent, objective reference against which the system delivered capacity is compared. Okay, when we say 57%, that's what we're talking about, is the system delivered capacity. 57% is the national average. How do we know that? Well, NCI has been measuring this stuff almost 30 years now. NCI has been training contractors across North America for about 30 years. And actually, this particular approach has been in play in our market for the last 19, almost 20 years. This is being recorded in 2020, but we're fast on 2021. Thank God. So this fundamental approach described in this standard has been in regular use since at least 2001. The principles used in this test method are supported by numerous industry standards, okay, things like ACCA and things like NCI, which have been adapted for field measurement and taught to contractors and technicians by National Comfort Institute. These approaches formed the basis of the standard and were subsequently improved upon, thank you, ASHRAE and ANSI, and vetted by a balanced committee to define consistent and repeatable test, measurement, and calculation procedures. So this standard that has just been released is field tested and proven already. This is not something you got to say, well, I don't even know if this works or not. No, we know it works. We've been doing it since 2001. So almost 20 years now. It's, again, provides you with a tool to stand out from the competition, to make your customers smile like you've never seen them smile before, I promise you. This test and scoring method may be used by field practitioners. What's a field practitioner? That'd be a service tech, an installer, a salesperson, a maintenance person, to score a system before and after system repairs and upgrades. Why would we want to do before and after? Well, let's talk about that. The score before upgrades documents the deterioration caused by defects in the installed system and helps identify what may be done to improve the performance and efficiency of the system. The system is again tested and scored after system repairs and upgrades are completed using the same methodology. The difference between before and after scores provides an estimate of the improvement in performance. So guess what? We get to verify that we did what we said we were going to do. We get to test in. I would actually say we're going to test during to see what changes are being made. Then we're going to test out when we're done. So we're going to get a before score. We're going to do the work. We're going to do the after score. And we're going to be able to show the customer, you know, when we started, you were at 57%. Now you're at 89%. Now, never promise 100%. If you read this, you'll understand why. But never promise 100%. But if you can get above 80 for a system that's operating at 57, they're going to say, gosh, we've never been this comfortable in our home ever. I promise you, because we used to do this. We started doing this type of work in 1992 before this even was a reality yet. We didn't know what we didn't know. And we just started doing some of the things that these standards recommend and now have codified, right? We were doing it as a contractor back in the early 90s just because we were kind of aggressive at figuring out ways to be different than our competition. The stuff works. So this standard is your opportunity. Use this opportunity to take your company to high performance levels, right? It is a sincere standard. This is not BS. This is for real. If you go to the ashray.org website and look up standard 221, you will see this is a real thing. In fact, I would highly recommend that you go to the website and buy a copy of this standard. You can download a PDF as soon as you give them your 71 bucks. We don't make any money on this printing, by the way. But their standards are not free. That's part of what keeps ASHRAE operational. So it is worthy of adoption. This is something that you should seriously consider if you want to stand out as different. If you want to be different than the 57% crowd, this is your vehicle. You start applying what's in here, you will be a high performance HVAC contractor. Here's the cool thing. When your team and your customers understand why high performance matters, why safety, health, comfort, and efficiency matter to them, to your team members, and to your consumers, you're going to get a ton of 5-star reviews. You're going to get more referrals. You're going to get high efficiency sales that are going to soar. And that's what it's all about. Right? When we help enough people get what they want, they help us get what we want. When you start delivering a higher performance, safer, healthier, more comfortable, and energy efficient system, you are going to earn a premium price for a premium product. We have been declared an essential industry, right? We're essential to people's safety, health, comfort, and efficiency. It's about time we start getting paid that way. If we're essential, then we deserve more. And we're going to create through this process a higher standard of living, not only for our customers, but for ourselves too, because now we can really start to earn what we're worth. So think about this. I mean, doctors, they measure, they don't guess. They got numbers, right? They don't just hold your arm and say, hey, we need to replace your heart, man. They don't do that, right? What they do is they measure stuff. They got numbers, they got instruments, and these vital signs that they're measuring, they are critical. And just guessing would lead to very poor diagnosis. Wouldn't you agree? Right? If your doctor just grabbed your arm and said, Dave, we're going to do a heart transplant, man, I'd be running out the door. Right? So guess what? If doctors measure, they don't guess. Well, what does that mean for us? Well, guess what? Pros in the HVAC industry measure, they don't guess too. Okay. And these are some of the instruments and some of the measurements that you're going to look at. From a safety standpoint, there is nothing more important in a home that has any combustion appliance or even a connected garage in the home. There's nothing more important than making sure that the air is not containing a colorless, odorless, poisonous gas called carbon monoxide. Static pressure is a great way for us to figure out fan airflow. There's a lot of things we can do with static pressure, but the most important thing is, do I get the proper amount of air out of that fan? Yes or no? Am I getting that out of the fan? Yes or no? If I'm not, I need to make adjustments to the rest of the system to get the proper amount of air out of that fan. And I know some of you are thinking, well, with these new ECM motors, we just dial up what we need. I can get on my thermostat for some manufacturers, or I can get on my cell phone with some manufacturers, and I can dial in what CFM I need, and I don't have to worry about it. Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, I've done some testing on some of those cool systems, and I dialed in what CFM I needed, but then I started restricting the airflow using an airflow simulator. And guess what we figured out? Yeah, it'll run. That fan will run. It'll run at 1 inch of static pressure that's rated to design. It's designed to operate at a 1/2 inch. Right on the nameplate, it says so. Maximum total external static pressure, 1/2 inch. We had it running at 1 inch, and we were the equivalent of 7 100-watt light bulbs worth of energy being consumed just by the blower. And guess what it's supposed to operate at? Less than a 100-watt light bulb. Cost a little bit to operate those things when they're outside of their design criteria. So don't tell me, oh, but it'll overcome these problems in the duct system. No, it won't. Sounds like a 747 too, doesn't it? Really loud, really loud. That's not what we're looking for. So we got to get the fan airflow right. Then we got to definitely make sure temperature is right. And are we delivering the BTUs to each room in the house? How do we know this doesn't work, man? You can't use your handometer. You can't just hold that up there and say, oh, yeah, it feels about right. About right is not a number. You got a standard that says you need to score it. That means measure it. A score means there's a number associated with it. If you don't measure, you're just guessing. That is NCI's tagline has been since the beginning of the company. So if you don't measure, you're just guessing. And that guessing approach is what leads to that 57% performance level that we're trying to eradicate, right? As an industry, we need to eliminate 57% efficient systems. We need to fix them. So if you're going to sell more high efficiency jobs, you got to have a high efficiency way to do it. Well, here's a performance-based selling approach. We call it an educational sales process. It's simple, 5 steps. First, just like every sales organization teaches, you got to gain the trust and build rapport with that customer, right? Best place to start, your existing customer base that has a maintenance agreement, they already trust you. How do we know? They're prepaying for the work, right? Good place to start. Build rapport with those people. Help them understand what's going on. Ask the right questions. Find out what's important to them. When you find out what's important to them, then you also find out what problems they have. And then you go and you do a technical survey. You figure out what's causing the problem, right? So they tell you, I got this problem in this room. I got this problem in this room, blah, 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 right? You ask the right questions in the customer survey. You use the answers that they provide you to walk you through a technical survey to figure out what the cause is. Not hard. Then you give them a summary of your findings and recommendations, and you connect what you learned in steps 2 and 3 of the educational sales process. You take the information you've gained in steps 2 and 3, you tie it together, and you help them understand why it's important, why it matters to them that those things be taken care of, and then you get a commitment to proceed. Now, in step 4, that's also where you're going to give them some options, some prices. In fact, if you don't give options, if you don't give prices, guess what? You can't sell the job. So we got to be able to offer choices. You may actually break it down into smaller jobs. Okay. One of the worst things in the world is for you to try to always hit a home run every time you go to bat, right? You don't need to be going to trying to hit a home run every time you go to bat. Sometimes maybe all you need to do right now, because all they can afford is a safety renovation. Maybe that's all they can afford to do. If that's all they can afford to do, guess what? You just probably saved somebody's life. That's okay. Right? What if they want to do the health renovation next? They want to do that one very soon. Maybe next spring, they're going to budget in their comfort renovation. And in 2 years from now, they want to do an efficiency renovation. So when you can bundle things like this into understandable product and service bundles with monthly payment options, offering a best, better, good, and I like to call it government minimum choice. The government minimum is what's the least efficient system the government will allow us to install in your home. Here's what happens when you talk about it that way. Most people don't want the government minimum. So it's okay and it's fine. The manufacturers need to build 13 SEER for up north and 14 SEER for down south. And we need to have 80%ers down here in Georgia, and you guys up in Minnesota and Wisconsin and all those places. You guys need those 90%ers up there. We get it. But the reality is this: the government minimum, almost nobody wants, right? If we give them choices and we help them understand why higher efficiency matters. And here's the good thing. If you offer 4 choices like that, a best, better, good government minimum strategy, 80% of your customers will choose a better or good solution. So Imagine that good instead of 13 is a, I don't know, it's a 15. Now 80% of my sales are 15 SEER and above if I'm up north. If I'm down south, it's 16 SEER, two-stage probably. 80% of my sales up north are now 96, 90, 95, 96 or better on my heating systems. That sounds pretty darn good. And then you got to streamline your installations. You got to make this stuff work. You know, so many people, they sell a job well, but then they lose it on the install because they don't do it effectively. Well, streamlining your installation process is all about creating install kits. Like, here are the things that we always ship out with a condenser. Here are the things we always ship out to our installers with a furnace, so that we know they got everything they need to get the job done. So these install kits, they simplify things. And if you stage jobs, this is a staging area for one of our customers that lives up in New Hampshire. They just staged their jobs this way. And when the crew came in to put it in, or to load up the truck, they just grabbed everything in the staging area for their truck, and off they went. They didn't have to ask, do I have everything or not? Because somebody else already staged the job for them. Now, I know if you're a one truck operation, you don't have anybody to do that, but you need to think this way anyway, because eventually you will grow beyond one truck if you desire to. So this consistency is what leads to greater profits. And that's an important part. Consistency leads to greater profits. And very, very, very rarely have I ever met a company that was profitable by accident. Profitability is always intentional, right? And you look for ways to be more consistent, more systemic, right? So we're trying to make sure that we do things consistently. That's what earns us the profits we deserve. So in review, those are the 5 things we just talked about. An industry-wide problem. We looked at some really, really, really ugly jobs. We talked about typical HVAC system performance, which is 57% of rated capacity. And we, as a team, are stamping those out. That's what that big 57% with the cross through it is all about. Motivating consumer behavior. We got to understand what's important to them: safety, health, comfort, and efficiency. We talked about a new standard. That new ASHRAE standard is a great opportunity for you to start differentiating yourself, start applying it. Here's the interesting thing. If you go ahead and buy that standard and read it, you're going to say, do what? Well, here's the good news. We got 19 years, almost 20 years of experience teaching people how to operate their business using that standard. So we've got it it's a lot more simple in the way we teach it than it is in that standard, but that standard had to be made generic so everybody and their brother has access to the content. Well, we've already simplified it because we've been doing this for a long time. We got a lot of contractors that have been doing this for a long time, so we know how to make it easy. We can help you with that. So that standard is a critical part. And then selling more high efficiency jobs also means delivering them efficiently. So it's all about delivering ultimate indoor comfort for your customers, because they're the ones that pay the bills, right? Exactly right. So we got a few things to help you. Thanks for being here. We got some ideas and some things that you can get to on our websites. We got 4 different websites here on the screen. So take a screenshot, pause this thing, get them down, go check them out. nationalcomfortinstitute.com/pro is for professional HVAC contractors. If you want to look at our just main page that'll take you to a variety of different places, just leave the pro off and you'll see our main page. But for you pros, just go /pro and it'll take you right to our main page. We got another site called YPBC. PBC stands for Performance-Based Contracting. There you can download some articles, different articles that are available for you to learn more about this idea. HVACtoday.com is a magazine that we've been publishing for, this will be 3 years now. And it's a really simple approach that gives stories about successful contractors that have been doing this stuff for years, as well as some of the supporting manufacturers and distributors that also support this. And there are some really good ones out there. So check out hvactoday.com. And NCI does have a membership program. It's optional. You don't have to join. But if you do, you get discounts on training. You also can earn rebates through some of our vendor partners that are part of our programs as well. And man, that can really pay off in a big way. Membership for most of our customers is zero. That's how much it costs them, because they actually earn more additional rebates through our vendor program than the membership actually costs. So that's a good thing. Or you can just call our office Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern at 800-633-7058. My contact information has been on the screen the entire time. Hopefully you got that down. That's my email address and my personal cell phone number. Please don't hesitate to call or text. Again, if you text, please let me know who you are the first time you text. Once you do, I'll put you in my contact list and I'll know who you are. And when you're asking a question specifically about this class, let me know that it was about the high performance sales and installations class. And I appreciate that. And I really do look forward to hearing from you. And I expect that I will. I really do hope that we'll hear from you. So this again is David Holt with National Comfort Institute, bidding you a good afternoon, a good morning, good evening, whatever time you're watching this thing. We really look forward to hearing from you in the future, and good luck with 2021 and beyond.